wanted to write from like the moment I couldn't even spell.
But I do agree. I got a lot to learn when it comes to acting. I still got to practice.
We're on the radio promoting the show and had invited people.
Better than the first. The Adam Talks Podcast, Season 2.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another great episode of the Adam Talks Podcast. Right now we're going to talk to somebody who is a very dangerous guy. But before we get into this conversation, guys, could you do one thing for me? It just takes a couple seconds out of your day. Just a couple seconds, and that's all I'm asking for from you. If you're here on YouTube watching us, could you hit that subscribe button? And if you're listening to us on one of the other platforms, could you hit that follow button? It means so much, and it helps out so much to see who's listening, who's watching us, and who's sticking around to check out the next episode. But as I said, we have a very dangerous guy on today. A guy who's won championships at peak fighting. A guy who has fought for Real Deal Championship fight. He trains here in Hot Springs at Off the Chain MMA. We're talking to Caleb McCauley. This guy is a really cool dude, and he has a very interesting story. And, you know, it was a really cool conversation we got to have. We talked about so many different things, and I can't wait for you to hear them. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to this episode. This is my conversation with Caleb McCauley. Right now, we have a great guy on, an awesome fighter, a dude that's not afraid to throw fists or feet, leave them flying. We got MMA fighter Caleb McCauley on the show right now. How's it going, man?
Man, it's going great. Thank you for having me. Again, I'm sorry about this lighting and whatnot, but my internet's going real bad where I'm at, so this is really the best place where it's clear on both ends. So my apologies for the lighting again.
Oh, no, man. You're good. You're good. Where did the love for fighting come from, man?
I've always been a real aggressive kid, and I've always wanted to do something as far as boxing, kickboxing, you know, just something physical, some type of mixed martial arts training. And then I heard about Off the Chain MMA through a teammate of mine, and the rest is history, really.
So you found Off the Chain and was like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to see what they're about, man. How was your first experience into this stuff?
Man, so kind of a off subject, but on subject to kind of get a little better understanding what brought me to Off the Chain MMA. Yeah, I may have been a very aggressive as a kid and rowdy, we'll call it, but I was a full-blown alcoholic whenever I started drinking at 16, and I became a full-blown alcoholic probably before I was 17. And I just drank and drank away a lot of my early years in adulthood. Finally got caught under the influence. I hate admitting it, but, you know, it's a price I had to pay. I had a DWI before I was 21, and that kind of put a lot of halt to my drinking. And everybody around me at the time was like, hey, man, you're an alcoholic. You need help. You need to go seek help and this and that. And I was just like, nah, it's fine. It's a phase. I'm not an alcoholic. Well, the law stated otherwise. And so my first few days and weeks at Off the Chain MMA wasn't a great experience for me, but it wasn't at the same time, because at that time I was really still kind of detoxing from alcohol, because I went completely cold turkey, and that's not something I'd really, really like to do again. Like, yeah. I was pushing 230, close to 230 pounds, and it was just, I was going downhill, man.
Dang, man. Dang. So you were pushing 230. You were a heavyweight at that time, and then you had to drop a whole bunch of weight.
I was a fat kid. When I stopped drinking, I lost 25 to 30 pounds.
Oh,
and then once I started working out at Off the Chain MMA, I lost another 20 to 25 pounds.
Dang.
So.
Well, it's a motivator then, I'm sure. Stay in shape, absolutely. And to be in shape
to stay out
Absolutely.
of that bad habit?
Man, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I still struggle with it from time to time, but it's not like I have to have it anymore. And I swear I'm a lot healthier now at 26 than I was at 16, 17, 18, and so on. So off the chain MMA
Yeah.
has really been a really great beneficial part of my life.
Yeah, man.
And I honestly can't
What?
thank my teammates enough and my coaches enough for being there for me and going through a lot with me, because they'll tell you I'm one of the most hard-headed son of a bitches you'll ever meet.
Man, I've seen a lot of people that are really hard headed, man. Does that hurt you in the training game, or does it help you in a way?
Kind of a mixture of both, because it gives me this extra toughness that I need, but at the same time, my coaches are like, "Hey, man, I need you to listen over here. Like, come on." So it's a good and bad thing.
Got to wrangle you up at times, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, what was your first experience in an amateur fight like?
I'm sorry, what?
What was your first experience in an amateur fight like?
Man, leading up to the amateur fight, I had done a few previous grappling matches, so that kind of helped with the stage crowd issue. My first MMA fight, it was a blast, to be honest, because it was like an experience. I lost at the end. I went 3 rounds and it went to decisions, and I lost, unfortunately, but can't win them all. But overall, the experience was just like, okay, I can do this shit. How many more we got left?
Yeah,
And I'm still
yeah,
going.
yeah. So recently, I've seen that you fought in RDC 10. What was that
I
fight
did.
like for you, man?
Well, the past 2 to 3 fights, really, it's been a year or so that I've kind of been inside the cage. My first year that I started fighting, I fought 6 times in a year span. And ever since
Holy
then, it's
cow.
kind of just been a year here, and there's like once maybe a year, but I'm trying to get right back into things. So I definitely showed a lot of ring rust. I mean, I lost. He was the better man for sure, but hopefully I can get back in there and start winning some.
Yeah, man. For you, what is the most difficult part of training?
Coming in every day, busting my ass off, helping my teammates, and just really pushing my body to the limit every day and feeling like just nothing is accomplished. And me learning that you got to practice this shit, 1,000 times before you finally get it right. That one time, then you got to do it even more and more until just me being patient overall with the process, and I'm trusting the process. So, and I have a world-class gym and teammates that can get me to where I need to be. So it's just all a process.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You got people around you like Chauncey Foxworth, like Dwan Pickney,
Absolutely.
man. These guys are huge, huge name fighters, man, in their
hmm
own rights, you know. What are some things that you picked up from them? Some of the bigger things that they've helped you learn?
Uh, that's kind of a hard one because they both individually have taught me quite a few things, and hopefully I have taught them quite a few things as well. But as far as the thing that I've learned the most with my coach, Dwan Pickney, uh, he's a very, very, very patient individual for everybody that comes in there, because we all come from different walks of life. And this dude, when I tell you I'm very hard-headed, stubborn, and just bull in a china shop, you're not going to tell me what to do. This guy has the patience for that, and that is something that is just it's a relief for me, because not a lot of people can honestly deal with me. and I'm trying to get better with my people skills and whatnot. But just him being there in a lot of the hard moments of my life, and him just kind of helping guiding through, being a good mentor, has really, really impacted me quite a bit. As far as Chauncey Foxworth, he's called the Machine for a reason. Like, this dude does not stop. Like, it's just like, I'll start piecing him up, and then he'll start talking to himself, and then he'll just flip another gear, and it's like I'm helpless. And he with his mental toughness and his him refusing to just stop or not stop and keep going and having the energy is just, it's wow. And I strive honestly to try to be on the level and cardio level and just overall try to be like Chauncey, and hopefully one day I can beat this dude. But right now, he is the machine. 110%. That dude is the machine. No questions asked.
There you go, man. Do you think overcoming that addiction to alcohol has helped you to persevere in your fight training and in your fights? Like giving you inspiration to continue on?
At the time in my early years of training for MMA, yes. I do feel like I have overcome that battle with it, and it's not necessarily the main drive of why I still do MMA. It's definitely a big part of it, but it's not the main drive and focus. It's definitely, the gym has helped me with my struggle with alcohol, you know, both on and off the field, we'll call it, and it's just, you know, it's one day at a time. And, you know, you hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and just, you know, you get hit on the chin and just keep going forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't guess I was meaning like literally that, but just knowing that you've been able to overcome that, knowing that you've been able to overcome this big obstacle, does it help with the other obstacles moving forward? Knowing, hey, I've overcome this big thing, so these other things are not. Does it help out knowing that? Does that help you out preparing and all that other stuff that goes along with MMA?
Considerably. But, you know, there's a lot of differences between the two, but there's a lot of similarities between it, and it definitely does help quite a bit.
Okay.
It's like, oh, okay, I can do this. If I can overcome this, then this is going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge just like this was. But if I see it through, I can make it.
Definitely, man. Take us back to your very first fight and your preparation for that. How did that preparation go? And did it work? You said you didn't win, but do you think you executed the way you prepared for it?
Yes and no. I mean, that it's been so long. I think I've prepared the best I could for my first one. Let's just say that. I mean, I did know what to expect, but I didn't know what to expect. So it was like, you know, just go with what happens type of deal with that one.
Okay. How many fights have you had in your career so far?
Oh, MMA, I've had 12 amateur fights. I've done one kickboxing match and quite a few grappling matches. Not any tournaments, but grappling matches on MMX Extreme up in Fort Smith with Brian Foster and his crew. I've grappled on his show quite a few times. Every time I go up there, they always ask, "Hey, do you want to grapple before we start the show?" And not usually, I tell them yes, and because it's just Brian Foster. A little backstory with him. Sorry, he gave me the opportunity to be on a fight card, and that meant a lot to me. And I also look up to him quite a bit and try to follow him and his fight career and what he's got going on.
Okay. So you've been in kickboxing, MMA, and grappling competitions. Which one would you say is the most challenging for you?
MMA, because you got to mix the two together. You know, you can't with kickboxing. I'm not worried about somebody constantly trying to shoot in and go for a takedown, so that takes a lot of stress off me, and I can focus on more on kickboxing itself. Same thing with grappling. I can focus more on jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and not having to worry about getting punched or anything like that. But with MMA, it's like you have to be at alert at all times, or it could be lights out.
Yeah, definitely. You see a lot of MMA fighters are strictly stand up or strictly jujitsu or wrestling. You know, they're not necessarily all well rounded and stuff. How do you maintain the balance to be a well rounded fighter? Is it being just like, all right, I'm going to prepare for fight, or I'm going to do stand up this week, I'm going to do ground game this week, or is it a mixture of everything while you're training?
It's a mixture of everything while we're training. You do have some guys who just naturally are better at just starting off, or just better at an area than a lot of guys, and it shows. And a lot of times when they're being like, oh, hey, I'm really good at this, I'm going to stick with this. And sometimes they'll forget to focus a little bit more on the other type of training, just depending on what they're training for that day. I try to be a overall balanced fighter. Like, I'll take one thing that I learned from that class and apply it. Because I'm sorry, but there's so much information that we're trying to take in all at once. It's hard to remember it all like that. So, seeing fighters being more accustomed to one form, them being comfortable with it. Yeah, I mean, I'd do the same thing, to be honest. I don't know if I'm really good at stand up and really crappy at grappling, or really good at grappling or crappy at stand up, so I want to try to just be really good at all of it and just try to be a good overall fighter instead of sticking to one. Now, like I said, there's plenty of guys who do, and they're great at it. If you can't stop what they're doing, why should they stop what he's doing? So
yeah, man, definitely. You got your George St. Pierre's out there that can do literally anything. And then you got your guys that are like Brock Lesnar that'll just take you to the ground and beat you up the whole time. Or Matt Hughes that would do that similar thing. You got your Anderson Silva. Yeah, you got your Anderson Silva's just dodging and blocking, or Israel Adesanya doing the same thing, But then you got, like I said, the George St. Pierre's, you got the John Bones Jones that can do literally everything, that are dangerous as hell on the ground, standing up, doesn't matter. And yeah, I would think the best way to be prepared for anyone, even if they're more versed in one or the other, is to be able to be prepared all the way around. Whenever it comes to your fights that you've had so far, what are some of the tougher fights that you've had?
Oh, the tougher fights that I've had, I would say Alex Foster. He's a really, really good dude. He just turned pro. Alex Foster was definitely one that I remember, because I remember me throwing a kick, him catching the kick, then all of a sudden I'm on the ground, wondering what the hell's going on and just trying to fight to stay in the fight. He hit me with a clean overhand left after he grabbed my left leg, and I literally think I was knocked out from the time he smacked me until I hit the floor, and I think when I hit the floor is when it woke me back up. So that one definitely sticks out in my head for that reason. Another one that probably sticks out would be Trey Frazier, because it was the first time that I had fought outside of 145 and 155, which is the weight class that I originally started with and that I'll probably continue on with. But Trey Frazier, he was a 170er or welterweight. It was a different experience for me to fight a bigger dude because of how tall and long I am. Normally the guys that I fight, they're shorter and stockier. But Trey Frazier was definitely a good fight. I honestly would like a rematch against him. But that dude's 9-0 right now, and I'm not 9-0 like him. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe you can get a rematch with him, man. That'd be dope. Get you another chance, a shot at redemption.
Man, there's a lot of
Man.
guys that I would honestly like a rematch with that I took an L to, but it's like, okay, I've learned more from the losses than the wins, so I'm definitely thankful for the losses.
Definitely, man. I'd say that most of the time you would learn from loss a lot more than you would from winning, because when you're winning, a lot of the times, you don't get to see the flaws in your scheme. You don't get to see the flaws in your form or whatever you're doing or whatever, man. You don't see a lot of the negative things that you're doing whenever you're winning. You're just seeing, hey, I beat that guy. But when you're losing, you can see, all right, I got to work on this. I got to work on this and this.
Oh,
and
most
this,
definitely.
And I would assume a loss would get you heated up, man, and get you wanting to get back in there to try to fix whatever it is. So the next time you do it, you get that win, hopefully. Am I right?
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, that's the goal. It's a goal. Unfortunately, you do see a lot of guys who lose and just don't ever come back. I've unfortunately seen that happen quite a bit. But like I said, I've got a world-class gym where I'm at, and I don't see anybody quitting anytime soon.
Yeah. So I can't, I've talked to, like I've told you before we started this, I talked to Solo. I actually talked to DeWand as my second, special guest ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to Donovan Beard recently as well. And,
Right on.
yeah, man, they're all really cool dudes, man. All of them are really cool. And I've talked to bare knuckle boxer Jessica Link. I talked to her as well. And,
Right on.
and it, to me, I've talked to all of them. I'm like, and I'm going to tell you this, I don't know how the hell you do it, man. It takes a different kind of person to be able to get in there and be like, I'm going to hit you right there as hard as I can. And if you hit me, I'm coming back and hit. I couldn't do it, man. I just couldn't do that sort of thing. It's nuts. It takes a different kind of person to do that, man. How does it, is it just being tough? Is it just having heart?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of it does have to do with heart. It does, but it's a mixture of a lot of things. Like, you have to want to go in there and be like, okay, this guy's going to hit me. I'm going to hit him. I'm either going to win and people are going to cheer me on, or I'm going to lose, have my head down, and people are going to, you're going to feel embarrassed. It takes a very special individual to go out there in front of the public view and not knowing who these people are. And you could be at the highest of high, or you could be at the lowest of low. There's no in between with it. And it's a great feeling when you win, but it's a crappy feeling when you lose. But it definitely does take a special individual to get out there and either be humiliated to no win or be the highest of high. And toughness, that has a lot to do with it. I mean, it's really like with anything. Like, you go overseas, you got the Island Man TT over there where the guys are doing 200 plus miles an hour on their crotch rockets, and that takes a different breed to do that. You got your Formula One drivers over there driving, and they're hitting 10 G's of force on them, and
Jeez,
boxers, they're getting hit, but nothing in the head and in the chest and in the stomach. It's different, a little different from MMA. So that takes definitely a different breed. I mean, it's like anything. You have to want to do this for sure, because it takes a special idiot to say, hey, I'm going to go in every day to the gym and I'm going to get smacked in my face. Yep, that sounds like fun. And I told, shout out to Jose, my teammate, Jose Zuniga or something like that, Zunica or something. he was the guy that got me into the gym in the first place. And when I met him and he told me I do MMA, I looked this dude dead in his shit and I said, "You are the stupidest motherfucker that I know to this day. There is no way in hell you're going to get me in that gym and I'm going to go in there and get my face beat in. That just sounds terrible, man. There ain't no way in hell I'm doing that." Well, 7 years later, I'm doing it.
Here you are. Right on, man. Right on. I'm a pro wrestler, so it takes a certain kind of idiot to do that as well. So I mean, I get
Oh,
it.
dude,
You
you
know,
wrestlers, oof, y'all are something else.
get thrown on the ground, man. I just get picked up and thrown down over and over again. You know what I mean? Clothesline, punched in the face, head bashed into the corners, whatever. You
Yeah,
know,
you
it
could
takes a
have your
certain kind of
spine broken,
special
or
idiot to do that as well.
it's yeah. A lot of people call me stupid, but I'm like, I'm doing something something good for my life, or at least I like to think.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
plus,
it's really cool though. I mean, you go ahead.
oh no, just go ahead. I forgot. I had a
I
thought and lost it.
I really think it just went away. But yeah, I think it's awesome, man. I think it's awesome how you guys can do that. How you can take the information in and in a split second make a choice. Whenever you're out there though in the cage and you got your coaches right like as your ring crew or whatever you want to call them. I don't know the
Your
technical term.
cornerman.
I'm sorry. Uh,
We call them
yeah,
cornermen.
your cornerman.
Hmm.
Whenever you got your cornermen out there and you're out there, the crowd's around you cheering or booing or whatever the hell they're doing. Is it hard for you to listen in and key in on your coach because of the noise, or is it something that's like came natural to you? I guess came more natural to tune the crowd out.
That, I mean, it's different for each individual, but I'd like to think as
Hmm.
a whole, you got to learn to tune that outside noise and just listen for that one voice or one to two voices, however many cornermen you have. It's definitely sometimes, when hard to hear my coach whenever, we're in the middle of an exchange or one of us gets thrown or something, the crowd's going crazy. At those times, it's definitely hard to, hear because all you hear is just the crowd screaming. You can't hear your cornerman, but it's definitely something you have to, while you're being punched at and kicks being thrown at you, you have to listen to your cornerman, and I feel like that's another skill in itself, and I have yet to master that one.
Part of that stubbornness could play into that, huh?
Yeah, probably. With me, probably. I can't confirm or deny it because I'm not in the middle of a
He
fight
said,
right now. So.
he said, throw the jab, and you're over here steady throwing hooks and overhands. Uh, but yeah, man. The things that I've seen of you, you can stand and bang with the best of them, man. Whenever you're standing and doing it, man, is it something where you're feeling this natural flow in you? Is it something where you're trying to remember stuff that you've worked on, combinations and things, or is it something completely different that I'm just missing out on?
Man, so, me having one eye, I naturally have a depth perception issue. And so, if you look at my first few fights, well, probably the first 5 fights, we'll call it 5, 6, really, I had a very hard time gauging, uh, how close I need to be to the individual to actually smack them. And, it's either hit or miss at that point. But here recently, I've learned to really get my distance down and start really flowing and knowing how to move, where to move. Granted, I'm still getting popped in the head, but nowhere near like I was. Dewan Pickney has definitely helped me out a lot with that, and so has my team. But I would say standing up and banging with these guys, I love it. But at the same time, it's like, how many shots to the head am I going to take before, I get a concussion or some brain damage? I love to stand up and bang just like the rest of them, but it's like, I'm learning to try to fight smarter and not harder, because whenever I first started fighting, I would just stand and start taking punches and just proving to people, yeah, I'm tough and this and that. But it's like, okay, toughness will only get you so far. So to stand and bang with people, I love it, but I hate it, and I have to. And that individual has to really want to stand and bang too. So.
Would you say it's more comfortable for you to be on the ground then? It's a better feel for you to be on the ground and trying to either ground and pound or get them into a submission sort of situation?
I like to stand and bang. My personality, I do. But, there is a good sweet feeling of, landing that submission in an MMA fight. A head kick, that's a cool knockout. Punch knockout, that's great. But I do love trying to submit my opponent if I have the opportunity to.
Have you only fought here in Arkansas, or have you fought all around as well?
Currently I've only fought here in Arkansas. I fought for Peak Fighting. I fought for MMX Extreme. I've also fought for RDC, Real Deal Champions as well. Outside of that, I don't think I've fought for any other promotion.
Okay. What was your experience in kickboxing like for you, man? Because we haven't even touched on that yet.
My experience in kickboxing is very similar to MMA as far as the stand-up part. Like I said, you don't have to worry about them taking you down. So that took a lot of stress off me. I won my one and only current kickboxing match that I've ever had. It went to decision, and I won that decision. I did enjoy kickboxing, but I would honestly rather stick to MMA. Kickboxing is just
okay.
I like to do multiple things other than just stand up. Like I said, I do like to try to go in for a submission, and so I can't do that with a kickboxing match.
Well, also, the thing is, if you're getting overwhelmed, if you were doing just kickboxing, if you're getting overwhelmed standing up, you can't take them to the ground to alleviate that kind of pressure that they could be putting on you. You can't do that. But in MMA, you can. MMA, you got the chance to do a takedown, a double leg, a single leg, whatever kind you can do. You got that opportunity to take them to the ground and pound it out for a little bit. Give yourself time to either catch your breath or try to go for a submission, whatever it may be. You have that opportunity. Is it a freeing feeling whenever you're fighting in an MMA fight or training? Is it like a freeing, almost releasing feeling?
Man, I mean, there is no other feeling that you can get walking across that stage or walking up to the cage in the stage and then fighting. It is a big breath and it's fresh air for me. That's me in my happy place. I'm not having to worry about bills. I'm not having to worry about taxes. I'm not having to worry about the car payment, insurance. I'm not having to worry about all these other things that I normally have to worry about. It's the one thing that's in front of me, and it's him. So it's really nice to just focus on one thing. And then when you win, like I said, that feeling, there's no other better feeling than that. I'm also naturally an adrenaline junkie, so anything that can get that type of high for me is just, I'm free. I also like to ride crotch rockets at a high speed too, so that helps me get free as well. So the only thing that can give me that feeling on a crotch rocket, where I'm free, is inside the cage. So,
man, it's an escape. It's an escape from your everyday life, your reality. Get away from it and become someone else or have a different part of you shown to where other people can see this other side of you. And I can understand that completely. Like I said, being a professional wrestler, I get to escape myself from my own reality to become this character that I'm portraying out there. It's a part of me. It's a very small part of me that I bring out 10 times its real self or whatever, because I'm an asshole as a wrestler. So I'm a bad guy, you know, so I love it whenever they're booing me. It's great. I tell them to shut up and all kinds of stuff, and they just boo the hell out of me. It's just wonderful, you know, but, I can understand that, because whenever I'm out there, man, I feel nothing but like, you get that feeling in you. It's like, yes, let's do it. Let's go. You know,
Yes,
it's
sir.
just
Yes,
wonderful.
sir.
It's a feeling that you can't replace that kind of feeling with anything else, you know.
It's hard to
But
get that feeling.
it is definitely hard to get that feeling, man. I think for me, the challenge for MMA would be planning ahead, looking ahead at your next fight and knowing what you're going against and being able to prep for that. Is it difficult?
Man, you can only prep for so long. Like, yeah, you can look at this fight the next guy you're gonna fight, depending on your career. At this point in my career, I'm fighting guys with records, so I'm not gonna fight a newbie anywhere. So you know, you can prep and do this and do that, but man, when it's actually time for crunch time and you to fight, your game plan, it could work, but it couldn't, because sometimes they could throw something new, because you know you're not going to be the same fighter that you were the previous fight. So they could throw something new that you weren't prepared for. So you just got to be prepared for, I feel like, what you feel like they're going to do, and just fight your fight, man. I can't really prepare for a fight. I just got to train my ass off and just fight my fight.
I think that the most important thing going into a fight is knowing, and this is coming from a guy who's never fought. You know, I've just watched fights. So, but going into it, knowing your opponent, at least knowing what they're well known for, if they're a striker, if they're a grappler, if they're a well-rounded fighter, getting in there, knowing, hey, I'm in for a big battle standing. I'm in for a big battle going to the ground. Or, you know, I'm just in for a one hell of a fucking fight. You know what I mean? There is no telling what the hell is going to happen in this fight. You know, that I'd imagine would be the toughest part, getting in there, facing off. Like you said, you can't prep forever. It's not, you got a certain amount of time. And even if you're prepping for this one fighter this whole time, you just never know. I mean, they can be a ground fighter and throw a strike at you and knock you down, and then you're done. You know, I mean, there's no telling. What is the toughest thing that you've had to overcome, man, in a fight in the fight world, in your fighting career? What is the toughest thing you've had to overcome?
That's a hard one, to be honest. I mean, are we talking like during the fight, just overall in the gym, my experiences going to these events? Like,
I mean, whatever, pick one and go for it, man, because I'm willing to listen to any and all of them if you want to give me all of them.
the hardest thing for me in the gym would be originally, you know, just getting along with people and learning how to socialize with people outside of alcohol when I first started. Now the gym, it's my happy place. It's my place of, you know, zen, peace, whatever you want to call it. Learning to accept new people and not be so judgmental towards them, because a lot of people will just show up, say, oh, hey, I hung out with such and such and got a picture, and this is what I'm doing for this day. And then they'll go and preach on and on and on how they're continuously coming to the gym when they're not really. So gym wise, me being patient with new people and learning that, hey, they're coming from a place could be very similar to mine whenever I first started, and, you know, just learning to be accepting and patient with people because I'm not a very patient person. As far as me fighting, the hardest thing is pushing through just whatever situation. I mean, I've been caught in triangles, gotten out of those before in a fight. I've been caught with several punches and gotten pushed through that. So I mean, there's a number of different things.
So I'm sure you've learned and grown a lot since you started. 7 years is a good amount of time, man. And, you started off not knowing a lot and just jumping into it, and now you're 7 years in. What are some things that you've learned and been able to adjust in your fight career so far?
Oh man, just overall everything. I mean, I started with a Taekwondo background that I did when I was in my younger years, but just going in there every day in, day out, just trying to get better every single day. Just working on everything, man. I don't try to just work on something, just one thing specific. I try to just fix every little
I
small
hear you,
detail I
man.
can and
It
just
seems like it'd
continue
be
on from there.
a lot to do, I mean, you've got different aspects of the game. It's not just your stand up. It's not just your ground game or even takedowns or anything like that. You've got to be cardio king, man, whenever you're in there fighting. You got to have cardio for days, because if you don't, they're going to wear you out while you're getting wore out. You know what I mean? You won't be able to last those 5 minute rounds, or the 3 5 minute rounds. There's cardio. There's not
Yes,
just the cardio
sir.
and conditioning, but you got to be able to train weights. I mean, everything. As far as those aspects go, what?
I'm trying to get that. I'm trying to get that cardio like my
Oh
teammate
yeah, man.
Chauncey Foxworth.
He
Like I said,
definitely
it's called
is,
the
man.
machine for a
He's a
reason.
giant, dude. He's huge.
So
I've seen him once in person, and that guy is huge, man. He's gigantic. But he could probably go for days in there and just like school you on anything and everything whenever it comes to fighting.
it's like what's his name? Nate Diaz. He's known for having really good cardio, and Chauncey's the same way. This guy could just go on and on and on, and I'm like, time out. I need a breather. And he's over there like, you trying to roll some more? You want to spar some more?
But
No,
it's good,
Chauncey,
man, that you
I
got a
need a
good team
breather.
around you. You got Dewan, you got Chauncey, you got all these other guys in there, and it's good to have that good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I've got Dwan, Chauncey, Day, Jose, Isaac, Bo, uh, Kirkland, Sorrell, and a lot
Yes,
more
sir.
guys.
It's
Just,
good
I
to
have a
have that
really,
support
really good
system,
team
because,
surrounding me,
man, whenever you
for
have
sure.
that kind of a team around you, man, it makes it so much easier, so much better to be able to thrive and succeed in whatever it is you're doing. Whether it's a big sport, or whether it's a big sport with a bunch of people doing the same thing at the same time, or whether it's just like you're doing 1v1 in the middle of a cage, just throwing down one guy and another guy in there. Because when you're in there, you gotta be able
Mhm.
to, go in there and fight one dude. You're standing there facing off. It's just you and him. And you don't have anybody else to rely on other than your cornermen that are hollering out instructions, trying to give you the best advice they can. But ultimately, it's up
Mhm.
to you. And it's great to have that team, because if you didn't, man, I would say it'd be a hell of a
Yes, sir.
hard time. And I'm sure there are guys going around.
It's It's there are definitely it definitely does show. There are guys who are independent fighters who will train out of multiple gyms for their fight camp, or train at home, or whatever the case may be, hence the independent fighters. And you can definitely tell it. definitely shows when they go to perform that they're not performing as well as they should be able to, and that's because they don't have a team surrounding them. And like I'm gonna say and keep
Yeah,
saying,
man.
off the chain
Yeah.
MMA,
A lot of big name
world class
fighters
gym.
came out of there. But whenever it comes to the fight game, man, have you had any kind of mental struggles coming out of like losses or anything like that? You had any kind of, really hard times mentally with a fight? And if you did, how do you overcome that?
Nobody likes to lose. It's definitely humiliating to lose. And I mean, you're going out there, you're either going to get, the crowd loving you and you win, or you're going to lose and you're going to feel really bad for a small period of time. But what I've learned to do is just like, all right, I've lost. This is where I need to improve on. Let's start back fresh on the drawing board Monday for the next guy. It definitely does take, it definitely is in the back of fighters' heads for sure. Like, damn, I just lost. Like, what am I going to do? And it's just, you just got to breathe
Yeah.
and push through it,
I
just
mean,
like you
I
do
would
when
assume
training
that
inside the
it's
gym.
not unlike going and doing something or trying to go at a normal job and saying, all right, I'm going to put in for this promotion. I'm going to try to get this when there's a couple other people and then you don't get that promotion, you know, and you're like, well, shit, you can either sit in that and you can either say, well, fuck, man, what do I do? Why, or you can just go, all right, you know what? They got it. I'll just move forward and try to do the best I can afterwards and be better than I was before. I can understand that, man.
Yes, sir.
That's something that's very, I would say something that's very hard for people to do in everyday life is to see things as, I messed up here and I could fix this. And how am I going to fix this? And just start applying that instead of being down on themselves. I think that's something a lot of people get hung up on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's definitely harder. It's definitely harder, especially in what we're doing here, because you're not doing it in front of just one person. So, you embarrass yourself in front of 1, 2 people. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. But, it's definitely a different experience in front of, hundreds or thousands, whatever the case may be. And, it's,
Yeah.
embarrassed may not be the correct word,
I've
but that's what I'm going to
recently
use
been
for
able to
that one.
watch some of your stuff, man, and I saw you win the championship at Peak with a rear naked choke, man. That was a cool fight. It was done in the first round, man. That was awesome. How did you prepare for that and get into that fight, man? How did you get in there and execute in the way that you did? I mean, it looked supernatural, like you were super calm. I think at one point you were in a guillotine or something, and you were in a triangle. Triangle, that's right. You were in a triangle, and I was like,
I was in a
damn, that is
triangle.
deep, man. How is he gonna last in that? You were just patient, man. How do you stay so patient in those really tense
Yeah.
situations?
Uh, man, just experience, really. I mean, you really won't know how to handle those situations until you've been in those situations before. So I was luckily able to push through that triangle and eventually get to a rear naked choke to stop the fight. Uh, I think, what was it? Josiah was it? Not Josiah, but anyway, my opponent for that fight, he's like really, really good with his jiu-jitsu. He does a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments, and he definitely has gotten a lot bigger since we fought. And I'm proud to see
Was it hard in the
where he's
beginning for
coming
you
along
to
and
to
where he's
be
going
proud
with
of
his
your
career.
opponents or to see your opponents growing and be like, this is a guy we could watch out for? Because coming into a sport where you're fighting people, I would think if you're thinking of it as a sport from the beginning, it's a different story altogether. But if you're going in there thinking this is a fight and I'm going to fight somebody, I'm going to beat the hell out of this guy, there would be some of those rotten egg kind of feelings, towards your opponents if you're losing and stuff. Did you ever have any of those moments?
Not really. It's like I've always been told when I'm competing, win or lose, I'm gonna clap
Okay.
for the next guy until it's my turn. I can't have any hard feelings towards them. It's just like, hey, they were the better man. They're in the gym, they're grinding, they're training, they're doing what they need to do to progress, and I have to obviously do that and then some for me to be able to progress. And so, to see other guys who I've fought and competed against win or lose, watching them progress, seeing how their career is going, I'm happy for them, they're going out there doing what they
Yeah,
love
man,
just like I
definitely.
do. And, I can't be mad at
MMA
them for
has come
that.
a long way from the days whenever I was watching it a lot, back when Matt Hughes was fighting, back when GSP was fighting, and Anderson Silva, all these great guys, Quentin Rampage Jackson, Vanderlei, all those. The evolution is crazy, man. What are your thoughts on the evolution of MMA coming from back then to where it is currently?
It's progressing in a lot of great ways. I really can't complain about it. I mean, you just like with anything, it evolves just like how we all grow and everything else in the world grows. Just it's going in a great way. And I'm glad that I'm able to still do what I love to do, and
Yeah, man.
it's
Yeah. No,
we'll
you're
see
good.
how it progresses.
Some of the ways that I think it's
Sorry.
progressed is definitely like the training's a lot different from what I understand. It's a lot more rigorous. There's a lot more to training now, especially in the skills, in the different techniques and stuff. Whereas before, I'm sure you would have,
Mm-hmm.
boxing, wrestling, you'd have some jujitsu, but mainly just boxing and wrestling. You'd have the kickboxers and the Muay Thai guys. But now it's a huge amalgamation of all of that. And you're learning the best of all of those worlds. So I mean, it's crazy. The evolution in MMA in my mind is just nuts,
Mm-hmm.
seeing how far it's come. What is your opinion on the state of MMA in Arkansas right now? Cause you're an Arkansas guy. You fought all in Arkansas. So, I mean, what is your thoughts on the state of Arkansas MMA, man?
Majorly, and I can't stress this enough, majorly underrated. We have a lot of world-class fighters coming out of Arkansas. It's here. We have schools in Little Rock, here in Hot Springs. We got Texarkana, up in Fort Smith. We've got schools. We've got the gyms, and we've got the know-how and knowledge. Our MMA is just majorly underrated. We had TJ Brown in the UFC. You got AJ Cunningham in the UFC. You've got Bryce Mitchell. You got Brian Foster. He may be out of Oklahoma though. You have Dewan Pickney. He went to Bellator. Chauncey Foxworth. He also went to Bellator. So did Solo Hatley. And a lot of other guys that are just amazing fighters. And our game here in Arkansas is
I mean, I
majorly
can't.
underrated all across the board, in my opinion. We are overlooked because we don't have any major sports teams or anything really big in Arkansas
I
outside
mean,
of
underneath the
Razorbacks.
Razorbacks, you got the Arkansas Travelers minor league team, but that's literally it. I mean, cool, whatever. And then, we used to, we used to have the
Like,
Twisters, the Arkansas Twisters arena football team, but then that went away. So now we ain't even got that. But yeah, man, I mean,
that didn't
I think
last long,
it's awesome. As far as your in-game goal, what is your goal for MMA? Is your goal to go to the UFC, Bellator, PFL? I mean, is there a big?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, just like anybody else, I'm trying to go to the top. It's a very, very long road. I will say that, and it's got a lot of obstacles, and
I think
hopefully
you will,
I'll
man.
be able to get there one day.
I think you
That
will,
is the
man.
ultimate
You've got,
goal.
like I said
One day
way
at a time.
earlier, you've got hands and feet that fly for days, and you've got the jujitsu skills that definitely could take you where you need to go. It's just, I guess, putting the rest of the pieces together for you, and you're working on that steadily but surely. We're winding down on our time right now, man. We're
Mhm.
winding down on our time right now, and usually I like to
Yes,
end the
sir.
show with 3 things you're grateful for. For me, they don't usually change. It's my support system, my family, friends, my fiance, my kids. It's the awesome guests like you and any other guests, because you don't have to come on here. And I appreciate the hell out of all of y'all coming on here. And the Lord above, man. Hey, man, not a problem,
Dude, I've had a blast
man.
being
And the
on
good
here.
Lord
Thank you for
above, because
having me.
without him,
Yes,
nothing
sir.
would be possible. So, man, what are 3 things at this moment that you're grateful for?
I would be grateful for my teammates, what family I am able to be in contact with, my teammates who have become, like family to me, and thankful to wake up the next day and continue on doing what I love to do, man. We're only given one life, and I keep telling people I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. So for me to be able to just wake up every day and continue doing what I love to do is
Well,
just,
man,
I'm very
I
thankful for
appreciate
that
you coming on here,
as well.
man. I know you probably got a busy day, and if you don't, man, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for coming on, man. Yes, sir. Hopefully we can get you on again
Yes, sir.
later
I
on down the
appreciate you.
line after your career's progressed even further. All right. Have a great day, buddy.
Absolutely. Can't wait, man.
That was an awesome conversation, very educational conversation, if I'm being honest. He talked about a whole bunch of different things that I didn't even know, He's a very tough dude as far as physicality and mentally. It takes a lot to come out of addiction and to fight through it and to be able to make it through, and the guy did that, So kudos to you, Caleb. Kudos to you and your career. I can't wait to see you thrive and flourish in this industry that you're really excited to be part of. So maybe one day we can get you back on whenever your career has gone a little bit further and we can talk to you again. But guys, until then, we're looking forward to next week. And next week we have 2 pretty big guests as well. We got a guy who's a filmmaker and an actor coming on, and we have another MMA fighter coming on. It's going to be a fun one, guys. Don't miss next week. It's going to be one you don't want to miss in any way. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to absolutely love it. Trust me. But until then, never forget to always listen when Adam talks. We'll see you later, guys. Have a great rest of your day, evening, night, whenever it is you're listening to this, and we will talk to you very, very soon.